Mm.
And then you have to give permissions. Mm. And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a Saturday night Lyceum, coming to you from the Paul Spiritualist Church down the south coast of the UK. How wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guests I had. They've gone, so these two are now stuck.
We're hitting them already.
It's going to be a long night, folks.
You're going to get into trouble.
Yeah, I already am, I think. Two absolutely wonderful guests bringing their talents, their gifts, and everything about them to the church. And we've had a really good day. So thank you. Thank you both.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very good. Very well received. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. You really brought something of value today, and I love that. Mm. Yeah, I do love that.
I think the students enjoyed it as well. It was
Well, I've got 4 complaints, but that's what we won't mention that.
And they were from Karen.
Oh, thanks! I can see where it's going today.
It was a great, and as with a lot of workshops, you start off slow, and then people start to warm to you, and they get to know you, and then they realise that they can actually listen and act, and it was nice to see people stretch themselves today.
Definitely, it was nice to blend with new people, and it was nice to see them settle and understand and blend with each other, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Brilliant. The introductions. We have the lovely Val Hood, who is over here from Australia.
G'day, mate.
G'day. We've had all Australian jokes today, and they're terrible.
I know, I'm fed up with them.
I have feelings.
Yeah,
obviously not. Okay. Val's over here from Australia. She's been doing a bit of a grand tour. You've taken in Welsh Wales.
Yes, Boyle.
Yes. Yakida.
Yeah.
You've been to Portsmouth.
And Portugal.
I was getting there. This is going to be hard work. And Portugal. So how brilliant is that?
It's been really lovely, yeah. I've still got some more to go, 3 weeks of whatever. Yeah. It's going to be quite exciting. Yes, we still haven't finished with you yet. You're going to kick us out by tomorrow morning, I know.
Tomorrow morning?
Tonight.
It's not dark yet. You can go out the door. No. And we have lovely Karen Wood, who's also been on her travels. She's been to Iceland. And then she went to Tesco's. And So we have the lovely Val, lovely Karen.
Hello, everybody.
Well, we've got lots to talk about. We've been talking about what we talk about tonight.
Yes.
And we haven't stopped talking, really.
No, you haven't.
I'd just like to say Karen and I go back 30 odd years. We started off our training together.
Well, neither of you look old enough to go back.
Oh, bless. He's redeeming himself now.
We'll pay you later.
Yes, he's redeeming himself.
Banking point.
So we started off all those years ago in the same development circle, and we've sort of come full circle, and now we're working with one another. It's been really lovely, actually. Yeah.
And there's good energy between you. We do see this in our movement now. A lot of people suddenly sort of like jump up on platform, and I'm going to be working with this, but we actually need that synchronicity, that energy there. That rapport. There we go.
That's a good word.
Yes,
it is. You need that rapport. It's not just something you can do.
No. Because you've got to feel comfortable with somebody's energy. Yeah. It's like working with spirit. You've got to feel comfortable with that. If you don't feel comfortable with the person that you're actually working with, you can't work with them. Yeah. I don't think so.
And I think when you've got a foundation of friendship, the history, and what's wonderful is this came up in conversation in the workshop today. You cannot see a person for years, but because of that history, because of that energy, because of that connection that you've had with them and their family, and you've been through that journey with them. When you meet them, it's just like you might not have seen them for years, but it's like you saw them yesterday.
Just pick it up.
That's what we did 4 years ago. I came over just before COVID, and I went to Karen's house. I hadn't seen Karen for years at that point, had I?
That's right.
And I'm in her house and felt like part of the furniture. It
Exactly.
was just lovely, really
Yeah,
lovely.
it was like you were just part of the family.
Mm.
You know, it was just nice. And
we felt the same here.
do you know what? I was just about to say that.
Mm.
I feel the same here. I feel like I've been here before, and I feel like I've known you for years, but not just online.
Too many.
Not just online. I feel like this lovely connection, and also the synchronicity of the things that
that was just getting a
have
bit
been
weird.
similar with different connections of where our lives have crossed over, similarities in work, and it was
Pubs,
yes, pubs,
nightclubs,
yes, places,
Far Eastern opium dens.
Southwest London.
I was saying about the fact that, you know, a lot of the people that I've connected with on this trip so far, I've only met online through COVID and online work, and you were one of them. I'd never met you, and now I can touch you and slap you when I need to.
Yes, and you have. And you have.
It's really, really lovely to be able to have the physical contact with somebody. It really is.
It's weird. And good evening, Tim. Sorry, Tim. That was my very poor attempt at humour when I said about Karen's going to Iceland, because I then followed it up, and then she's going to Tesco and Sainsbury's. But you never know. You never know. Funny, Tim's comment comes up here. When Tim arrived here with a lovely white Jeanette, I went downstairs to meet them, turned the corner at the front, and we both sort of like went, oh, this is odd.
Yeah.
I know you, but I've never met you. And it was just like, oh, hello. I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm going back a few years, but do you remember, I don't know if you had them at your schools, but sometimes we were given pen pals in different countries. Normally it was France, and you got a name and you wrote to a person and you sent letters and you corresponded and you shared aspects of your life, or your school, your family, and then sometimes they did an exchange where that person would come to, you go to visit their family and they come to visit yours. And I've known some connections like that go on for years into adulthood. So I suppose in a way we've now moved on to Zoom and the connections, the video links, the video connections that we have.
Yeah.
So it's quite fascinating, really, how things have evolved and changed.
It is interesting, you know, you're bringing in Zoom there, because we were talking about different things to bring into tonight's conversation, and there's been a thing going on in my head for a couple of months now about spiritualism being an experience. You know, when you go into a service or you have a sitting, you have healing or whatever, it's that experience. But what we are noticing now, I mean, Zoom, this platform for the talks has all been brilliant. But some people are sort of like going into this bit of a fug hole and going, oh, it's all right, I'll watch it later. And I'll catch up on it later. And it's like, it's handy that you can go back and review things. But wherever possible, I think we really need to remember to make the effort to be there when it's happening.
Definitely.
And especially when we are sharing philosophies or teaching. I know with teaching sometimes, well, it's more common now, people will skip a class, because it's all right, I can catch up on the recording. Well, the recording is very handy, but it's not a direct replacement for actually learning and actually experiencing.
Yeah. Well, it looks like that you're watching it through the shop window. You're seeing someone else do it, and you may be understanding the concept and the theory, but you're not experiencing the feeling of being part of the exercise or the class or whatever. You need to feel it. You need to experience with what we do to understand it. You know, I love listening to lectures and I love listening to discussion groups. But when I was learning as a student, I love to we love to involve ourselves and to be part of it and to do it so that we understand it when we actually do the actions, connect with the spirit world or connect with a person on a psychic level. We need to feel it and experience the whole thing, I think.
We had, you know, and Spiritualism Spirit listened. It's worse than Google. You know, if you search curtains and you go on Facebook and suddenly there's a million adverts for curtains.
Yeah.
It's the same with Spirit. And when you start putting these thoughts out there, they pick up on that. Because we had, during our service last Sunday, a connection was made. And do you know what? There was hardly a dry eye in the house, even before the demonstrator started talking.
Mm.
Because that presence just sort of like went.
Yeah.
And it was a father being reunited with a daughter. But it was just awesome.
Powerful. And you can't feel that when you're doing replays. You can't feel that same.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
That gets lost.
Nothing sounds as good as Spirit
Yeah.
feels.
So
That's what my tutor, Janet Parker, used to say. You know, and I've always remembered that.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris Archibald, if I remember correctly, has just got back from holidays. So he sat there all tanned and lovely and hungover.
Hello, Chris.
So hello, Chris.
Hi.
Has your dog forgiven you for going away and leaving, abandoning them?
I met Chris. I worked with Chris when I was in the Northeast in August, and
He's
I
lovely
met
guy.
his lovely dog Jack, and Oscar and Jack played on the beach and we went for a nice walk. So Chris mentioned about his holidays, so I've seen some pictures, so it looks like good time was had by all.
Yeah. But Chris is saying there, completely agree when it comes to learning. We have to be able to commit and engage and learn as a group.
Yes.
It is, especially in the training venue. You know, as I say, we can go back and listen. We were talking about a fellow medium just before we went on air and said some of the stuff they're putting out is, you know, it's phenomenal. It's really interesting because it is in that essence of a talk. It's being delivered as a talk.
Yeah.
But I'm very sure that actually working under the tutelage of that person would be a whole new level of experience.
Definitely.
Really, really would. Jack's forgiven him. That's good.
Oh, that's all right, and I'm so pleased he's
Pets
forgiven
can
you.
be very vindictive.
Well, I've got to go back to Oscar, and he'll probably have the hump with me.
I don't have that problem, thank
No,
goodness.
you don't. You just got to look after your grandkids when you get back.
Yeah.
You?
And they're very angry with me because I've come away. But anyway,
Yes.
okay. Yes. But yeah, there's nothing like we were saying all day today, blend with spirit. You know, you're in the psychic, blend with spirit. You can't feel it. You can't do it if you're not blending with spirit. And it's a magical feeling.
Oh,
beautiful.
absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
So, in fact, you've been away from the UK for a number of years and come back. Have you got any observations of the state of spiritualism in the UK since the last year?
Well, I haven't had much experience of it really. I mean, I was very shocked. I probably upset people when I went to Australia first 13 years ago. It was, oh my gosh, what are they doing? But it's changed. They've had lots of new learning over there, so it's got better. I've got to say, it's got better. I don't want to get shot in the foot here, I've seen a couple of mediums since I've been back, and I am a bit taken aback really, because they say they're mediums and they're not mediums. They're just doing snippets of information. There was no linking of anything together. There was no, okay, for instance, I've got your dad, I've got a push bike. Well, why is he giving you a push bike? There was no working that out. And, you know, Spirit's clever. And they're not going to give you just a push bike with your dad. There's going to be a reason for that. But there was nothing that linked it all together. I was really disappointed to see that. So, but I mean, I've worked with Karen since I've been home, and I've worked with Jenny Doherty since I've been home, and that's been fantastic. And the level of mediumship there has been incredible. So you're all right.
Oh, thank you. That's all right then. That's okay then.
It's so. I don't know. I mean, I haven't been to many churches. We did theatre the other night, didn't we? And it was with Neil Payne, Jenny, and myself and Karen.
Nice evening.
And what was really lovely about that is the support we got from all the people that I used to know, and there was people there that you knew as well, and joint people that we knew. The fact that somebody said, "Oh, it was a fix," because you know that you knew them all. I mean, when we do mediumship and we do it truly from the heart, we make those connections to spirit, and we don't guess. We don't go on what people, what we know about people, because that's just not only duping the audience, it's duping ourselves, but it's letting spirit down big time.
And actually, working with people, when I work here at Poole, when I first did a few services, I found them really difficult because I'm like, I know you. And after getting that mindset, okay, I know you two. Don't know everything about you. You've got a whole life there. So it's a bit like working with the nose. It's sort of like, okay, keep that integrity. Val, I know you, but I wish to bring, whatever. That integrity, because I sometimes see that lacking. I've seen people say, "Oh, I'd like to come to the person at the back," and I said, "Your circle leader." I'm just like, come off there.
And that honesty is extremely important. And why do messages for people that you know? And then, when I find out that, I'm very disappointed because I think, I thought they were really wonderful, and then you find out that maybe they wouldn't have been so wonderful. So disappointing.
But also we don't know that, we may know that person, but we don't know all the people that they've connected to, all the people that their family members in the spirit world. We don't know their family history.
We don't know all that, but we just need to make that statement.
Absolutely, I agree
if I
with
work
that. I do that
here at my church, I will always say at the beginning, right, I do know most of you in here, however, I always strive for that which I don't know. So let's just take them as read. Lovely, Tim. If I may say, as somebody who teaches in many different countries and demonstrates in many different countries, he finds that the British style is very factual in comparison. Brilliant. Yeah.
But do you find, though, that, and I tell you the thing that for me, a message is about the message. Yes, we've got to have that evidence. I think that's extremely important. But when I watch mediums and they go evidence, 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 and it's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of evidence, there's no message. I want a message from my people from the spirit world. Yes, I need to know you've got them by the evidence that you give. That's important. But then I want to know, I'm going through a difficult time in my life. I need to know my dad's with me, watching me, helping me, guiding me. And everybody else feels the same. So when you just get evidence, it's just, I think it's a bit, I
mean, the evidence is very important.
It is.
But I love to tell the story of that person because, they've lived a life. And they've done wonderful things, and it's lovely to blend with that communicator, to share those stories, to bring back those stories, and also bring in the memories that relate to the recipient. Do you remember the time when that Christmas where we didn't cook the turkey, or that Christmas where Granddad got drunk, or something like that? All these little memories, all those little memories that sort of think, oh yes, I remember that. And what we do when we get together with family and friends, or we've spoke about things, Val and I have spoken about memories, we've spoken about people that we used to know and connect with. And that's what you do when you get together with people. So it's sharing that story and sharing that love, because love is always there. So
and that's what I was talking about with the students today. While we're here, we're creating those beautiful memories. So when we do go to the other side, we can share those memories. I've been saying, if any of my students say, oh, she was a medium and she was a bit ditzy and she lived in Australia and she was a medium, I'm going to come back and haunt you because there's so much more to me. So, I am in the other side and I'm talking to you from the spirit world. And of course, I'm going to tell you all the different things that I've done, all the very important memories to me that my family would recognize. So, all those silly things like the ditzy blonde. I am a ditzy blonde, but I don't care.
What's interesting is when you do private sittings for people in the same family, and they come, they blend with you as the husband, or they blend with you as the father, the father to a wife and daughter, and how different they are, because they're different characters to their wives, to their daughters, to their friends. And I love bringing that aspect of it as well. And you can feel the difference when they change, when they suddenly become the loving husband or the father that's giving support and guidance to his daughter.
I did readings one day and I had 3 daughters and they all had, their dad came through. I didn't know they were sisters and I didn't know that the person that I was connecting to was their same dad. and each one of them had dad come through differently,
Yes.
because the dad's relationship with each of those
That's
girls
right.
was totally
Completely
different.
That's
And
right.
afterwards they said, did you know that we were all sisters and it was the same man? And I went, no, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But then intelligence of spirit.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
I've done this a few times where you work two mediums working with the same contact.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
that's
I've done that
fascinating
before. Yeah, I've done that
because
before.
my perspective of Karen is different to your perspective of Karen.
Yeah.
Because, and we are part of that message. Although we step right out, we have still got those same things that we would. I'm always envious of you lady mediums.
Why?
Because you come out with these details and you say things like, oh, she's wearing this style of shoe. And remember last night her hair was Auburn. I'm like, what the hell is Auburn? What's that mean?
Auburn.
And it was done like in an Audrey Hepburn. And I'm just sat there going, I haven't got a clue.
No.
I have no idea. If you say you had a 17mm socket spanner, I'll be going, yeah, I got that. Yeah, hey.
So they tap into the things that we know. So we know about, Audrey Hepburn style and auburn hair, and we know about those things. And I'm a sort of a shoes and handbag lady, and I love a bit of jewellery. So I quite often bring through quite a lot of, jewellery, but I try to get detail. So I don't just say a ring, I try to say a ruby ring or a diamond and ruby ring or an engagement ring or a wedding ring, so that it means more, to get a little bit more detail. So I like to do that sometimes too.
But yeah, different people give different forms of evidence, and I find that totally unique and totally fascinating.
I must admit, if students bring through, I've got an old lady here, and she's got a white dress with blue flowers on. I mean, how many old ladies wore white dresses with blue flowers on? So I said, but for me, the clothes are not that important. What is important, if you can distinguish an era. So they're giving me dresses, and I know I'm in the 50s because I've got pinched in waist and the big flared skirt. That's different. Or I'm
there you
seeing
go
dress.
again. What's a pinched in waist and big flared?
We're going to have to educate.
We're losing
This is foreign language. I've just done 2 weeks with Danish people and I understood them better than what you've just said. What the hell?
Yeah, but an era or a uniform or a school uniform colours and things like that, or I'm dressed as a nurse or he's in a fireman's uniform, but just saying, oh, they're dressed in a cardi and a skirt.
Giving something away there, love.
What's that? Fireman's
Dressed as a
uniform?
nurse or a fireman. Really?
Yeah, yes, I was married to a man or two men that were in uniforms. I've got a thing about uniforms.
Moving on. Mark Cassidy.
Mark.
Asking here, on your point of the evidence and giving the message, do you think these people have had enough training under a tutor, or have they just gone out on the circuit without any proper guidance or tuition?
They go out too soon.
Okay.
A lot of people go
Yeah,
out
they
too
do.
soon.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to you today, Laurie, about the fact that, one of the students that I'd had, she'd been to one workshop, and then I get a phone call from another student who said, I'm at this workshop, she's doing the workshop, she's the tutor, and she's using your workbook.
Really?
And it was awful. And I was just horrified to think that people, but they get away with it, they can do it. And I just think it's really, really wrong. When you think you've put all the hard years in, blood, sweat and tears into, and, for all of the good mediums out there, you have trained and worked hard and you've had the blood, sweat and the tears to, you've gone through all of that. And
Tears.
Yeah.
Twice, I'm going to say.
and how many times I've nearly walked away from this work for so many times because of the
Interesting.
attitude of people.
Yeah.
Interesting. Question for everybody watching. Just put yes in the comments if you have come to that point in spiritualism where you're doing, I've had enough. I'm not doing this anymore. That'd just be interesting to see how many, because I know I have.
I have.
Yeah.
We have that crux moment, don't we?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
we've just had that one kick in the teeth too many and just go,
Yeah.
do you know what?
Yeah, but we're also very sensitive. We're sensitives, but we're sensitive.
You
And when
call me sensitive. I'm not sensitive. sensitive.
when somebody says something negative, we get destroyed. It's like a knife in the heart. It's really hard.
It is. It is.
It is.
Yeah,
Um,
yes.
Yeah. Tim Abbott, just saying there, you are so right. I think different mediums are drawn to different types of evidence that they're comfortable with. For example, Albert Best.
Yes, Albert Best.
We were talking about him today.
Yes.
Was very well known for giving full addresses. And if you look at what Albert did as a daytime job, he worked in a sorting office.
Yes,
So he was very familiar with addresses. And you know what? I saw a beautiful explanation talking about evidence. I can't draw it. If you imagine a ball with all these little arrows coming out all the way round, and it's sort of like career, family life, personality, sport, behaviours, addiction, all things like that, each one of these arrows. And then you come along as a medium with your arrow, but only a certain number of your arrows are going to pick up on a certain number of their arrows.
Yes. Yes.
You're picking up on a small segment
Of that
that person because of what's in your toolbox.
That's right.
As I said, my toolbox does not contain culottes and
handbags.
But then again,
You never have enough hats, handbags, or gloves.
But we were talking about doing people working, two mediums working with the same link. And that's when you so if I do this with Neil Payne, and I do a double link, and Neil brings a different aspect of the communicator through than I do. But it's lovely because there's different aspects of that communicator's personality and that communicator's life. So it's wonderful to do.
It also is about your knowledge. If you are not up to date with certain things, or not educated, or you haven't read books, or you don't have knowledge about certain, how can you do that? But then we were talking again about that today, in that if you're connected to spirit correctly, you don't have to have that knowledge, because spirit will give you what they need to give you. So you can be talking doctor language when you're not a doctor and you've got no knowledge of that. And I think that's, again, saying the intelligence of spirit, I think that's really important to remember. But people won't push themselves to that. I was saying in class today, this is the place to make the mistakes. This is the place to practice. This is the place to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And people don't. They stick with their comfort blanket.
Have you found, I'm not referring to any of the workshops today, but have you found sometimes that students will not accept a piece of advice or some guidance?
All the time, because they think they know better than
That's one of the things I've found really difficult,
frustrating.
I'm just like, okay, so obviously I'm not the tutor for you.
That's
because
exactly
you know
right.
more than me, so that's
Going back to what you were saying about knowing different things. Years ago, I was standing on a platform and I brought a dad through, and all of a sudden my mind was taken to a film that I'd watched recently about a gentleman in the military that was showing new recruits in the army how to put a rifle together. So I saw that and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, why am I seeing this? And I thought, and I blended with it. And then I said, this gentleman was in the military and he trained people to work with rifles, and he trained people to be soldiers. And she said, yes. And then I said, there's actually textbooks or books or courses that he wrote or had connections with. And I could see, when you see all those instructions where it says Fig 1, 2, 3, and all these really difficult books that I had no knowledge of, but I just saw all these books and I said, there's so much information that your father had. And she said, and she came up to me at the end and she said, the sad thing is, she said, I don't have that information. She said, I had it all, but I've lost it. So it's interesting how, and I love films and TV, and I do read books, but they sometimes show me scenarios or things that I've tapped into that I've watched on the telly, or things that I know about because my own family being in the military. So it's interesting.
We take things
Put your teeth in
and breathe. We take things in on that subconscious level.
Yes.
I will sit there and look at people, and mentally I will try and describe them. In my head, I will try and describe build, complexion, hair, black, white, or grey, because that's the only 3 colours of hair that we have in the world.
Not open.
I'm giving you that look now.
But that stays in our subconscious. And it is then that spirit sort of like goes, ooh, remember this? Oh, remember the guy on the bus? Oh, yeah. You know, and it brings that in. Just getting back there. Yeses coming in.
Lots.
Walking away from.
Is this part of our development? Is this part of our development where we get to a stage and spirit are just sort of like, when I say step back, I don't mean abandon us, but I believe that we have pivotal points in our development that spirit will not help us with.
Well, I also,
you have got.
I also
I
think
get that.
though that spirit is testing us. How badly do you want to do this? How good are you going to be? How dedicated are you going to be? And it's like they step in and they step out. And I think maybe because that's made me work, you know, the fact that I nearly wanted to walk away, it actually made me, I'm not going to walk away from this, because it made me more determined and more strong with my work. But I think it is a test. That's what I think. That's how I feel.
I found that when I was thinking about walking away and throwing the towel in and not doing it anymore, I thought about it, and I had those thoughts in anger and frustration, and I was upset and I was hurt. But then when I actually went up, I went to bed and I thought, and I woke up the next morning, and I woke up and I thought, I can't, because it means too much to me. I can't, because it's part of me. It's my passion. It's what I do.
It's your life.
Yeah.
It is our way of life.
And I realised that I just had to change the way that I looked at things or did things, but I just could not let the work that I do go, because it's me. It's what I do. It's who I am, and it means too much, because I love working and serving the spirit world and doing what I do.
It is interesting. All those yeses there were just confirming that we do go, and whatever the reason we go through it, it does seem to be part of the path of a medium.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you will say, and I like because I've experienced that with spirit. When I had a really bad time, they said, it's your call.
Yeah.
And I go, cheers, thanks. No, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But I got it.
Yeah.
You know, when spirit talk to you and they just drop in these little phrases, it's more insightful than a whole volume of books. They just went, it's your call.
Yeah, but they don't tell us what to do. Do they?
I'm telling you to shut up.
Well, they don't.
I'm telling you to engage my brain when I talk.
They don't. It's our choice.
Yeah.
It's our choice to do it, and then we have to make the decision. But once we've made that decision, I bet they're saying, thank God that he didn't not walk away from it, or we didn't walk away from it.
I think my guys went, oh, bugger.
But when we, as I say, sensitives, when we are criticised, it annoys the hell out of me that the people who criticise probably can't even do what we do. I've never been in the position we're in, and they've got no right to criticise us in the first place. That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
Phil Maltboy. Hello, Phil. Lovely to meet you, by the way, at the college. Very nice to actually meet people. Yes, sometimes I think that, and this is about giving up, but I never give up on spiritualism, as I know it is where I belong, and spirit wants me to keep working.
Yeah.
Last night we had a fantastic clairvoyant evening. How do you know it was clairvoyant, Phil? How do you know it wasn't clairaudient? How do you know it wasn't clairsentient? Sorry, I'm just being really picky. I get really picky about my language. Yeah, I had a fantastic clairvoyant evening at Letchworth Spiritualist Church. Over 60 people there. Such a great evening, great messages from the medium. Lovely uplifting atmosphere. It's times like that I realise how great it is what we do. Really true. Really true. And you know what, we get those, and again I will hark back to last Sunday. If that medium never works again, it wouldn't matter, because that moment of reunion was majestic. It was unparalleled. Yeah, it was just like, that is just.
I was born in Letchworth. That's where I was born in Letchworth. That's where I was born. In Letchworth.
Is that leading on to something?
No, I'm just when he said Letchworth Spiritualist Church, I thought that's where I was born.
Really?
Yes.
Thank you.
I thought you were going to ask me where I was born then.
No. No, that's not on the script.
No.
Script
Anyway, lovely Mark Stone. Hope you had a wonderful day training today, Mark. God bless you. I think often we allow others to affect us rather than us remembering why we do this and why it's so important to me.
Yeah.
Yes, true.
Yes. Hello, Elspeth. Elspeth is in one of those little teeny tiny islands right at the top of Scotland.
Oh, how lovely.
Lovely.
All the way up
Hello,
there.
Elspeth.
And she is coming next year to the rally.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
How fabulous is that?
How
Can't
nice.
wait, Elspeth. And I want
Yeah.
some of the pickles you've been doing and putting up on Facebook. Thank you. Tim, I think when people criticise normally from an angle of ignorance and a lack of understanding. Yeah?
True.
Yeah. And it's like nature abhors a vacuum, doesn't it? And people just throw comments in at times.
Yeah.
And I have grown. You may not believe this. You're going to doubt this when I tell you this. I have grown.
Doubt everything you say.
Just type yes if you think that's really unfair.
They're going to say, good on you, Val.
I've learned not to bite.
It's hard, though.
Oh, God, it's
Very
bloody hard.
very
It
hard.
really is hard.
Because you go home, you don't bite at the time. You go home and you cry into your pillow, and you get up in the morning and you're angry, and then you all your emotions come up, don't they? For me, it has, and I think, oh God, what am I doing?
But when I say I've learned not to bite, I do come back with the other way of, well, thank you so much for your unasked for opinion. However, you're totally oblivious to my life pattern, and so you're not qualified to make a comment on that or lots of words, which basically say the same thing.
Yeah.
Mark John, every time I try to give up, something powerful puts me back on track. Wonderful. Well, that should be your soul, Mark. That should be your soul saying that. But yeah, let's not focus on the negative, because you said something really interesting yesterday.
Did I?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
So was I.
Go on.
I was going to be found beaten under a bush, floating in Poole Harbour tomorrow morning with a black eye. What was it talking about? Robin Hodgson when he read out.
Oh,
No,
that was
it's
me.
you.
That was
Karen.
me.
See, I told you I didn't say anything interesting.
Karen is the brains of the organisation.
I'm not.
I'm the
Val is
I'm
the
blonde.
beauty, and I'm the muscle. So
What?
Val is the tact.
Less.
I attended a spiritualist congress back in 2018, and Robin Hodgson got up and he had a very old psychic news when mediumship was at its heyday. And he read out a section, I can't remember what he said, but it was basically about people sort of like, not moaning, but sort of stating that mediumship needs to improve, it's not maybe as good as it should be. And it's, and there was criticism and there was ups and downs, even in the heyday.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's interesting, because when we look back at our wonderful pioneers, I'm sure that they went through the ups and downs and the pitfalls that we go through, but maybe in a different way. And it must have been hard. And when you read some of the stories of what they went through, the Fox sisters, Emma Harginge Britton, travelling all around America, and the awful time she had, especially travelling through the Civil War.
And being strip searched before an event.
And all these sorts of things, and being heckled and having things chucked at her. And when you also read between the lines of Estelle Roberts' story and the things that she went through, they had tough times as well, but maybe that is the path of the medium. But they trusted, and I think we've got to stay within that power of trust, I think, as well. But it just goes to show that even back then in the heyday of when we always think, back in the day, it was wonderful, but they also had their ups and downs as well. And I think that there's some wonderful people out there working hard, flying the banner for spiritualism. And I think that's important to remember. There's some wonderful teachers out there. There's some wonderful mediums out there, and there's some wonderful students, coming on as well. And I think
pioneers, and people make comparison of the mediums of today to the pioneer. They neglect the fact these people were pioneers because they did new things.
yes,
They brought in new ways of working. They developed new ways of contacting, connecting, communicating. So I think it's a bit of an unfairism when people are comparing mediums of today to mediums of 40 years ago, because the world has changed.
yes, it
The
has.
spirit has changed. We have changed.
I mean, look at us now. I mean, maybe in 40 years' time, people will be looking back at a time in 2020, spiritualism changed because it went online.
Yeah.
The world opened up and everybody could reach out and get a message in America and talk to somebody in England and come online and do a class with a teacher in America or a teacher in Australia or discuss things, and maybe that might be something where that people in years, in the future may look at and think, wow, that was a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't know you're in these pivotal moments and wonderful moments. When you're in them, you feel that it's been a wonderful experience and it's great. But it's only sometimes when you look back, even in your own life. If we all look back at the time we first came into spiritualism, walking into a spiritualist church, receiving that first evidential message that changed your mind and made you think, hang on a minute, there's something here. I'm going to think about this. I'm going to explore it more. I'm going to find out about it. Or when you receive that love from someone in the spirit world and it touched you and it moved you, or you were moved by a message that you listened to within that church. And I have been moved by many messages that I've witnessed, not just my own messages, but messages that friends have received, that other congregations received. So there's lots of good things happening at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to focus on that. That's just me on my soapbox.
No, that's fine. This is what it's about, getting passions out there. The thing that I see going on in the movement is that a lot of the churches and centres actually need to start looking at the way they operate and looking how they interact with their demonstrators. There was quite a sad thing was put out in social media to make their commitments, and you just think, wow, what a thing. And I think, our churches and centres, I know Tim's in tonight, and he's a great advocate of modern spiritualism. He gave me a terrible idea. Instead of having a hymn book, send out the hymns so people can put it on their phone, the words. And I was just like, oh, I like that. But me being a Luddite and not having a mobile phone, maybe that's not going to happen. But yeah, I think we need to keep improving, and we have the ability to, because we're dealing with unlimited intelligence.
Yes, definitely.
And the churches wonder why there's no bums on seats at the churches and the audience is getting less and less.
Yeah.
And it's because of the fact that the standards are not as good, or they're not getting good standard mediums, or I don't know, committees are not organising things better.
You know what? In business, the worst thing you can do is, when you go for a quiet spell, is to cut back on things and reduce your standards.
Yeah.
Because you then engage a downward spiral, and it takes a hell of a lot to get out of that. And I see that business model applied. There was conversation about somewhere would only pay X amount for people to go there and work, irrespective of the reserves of finances at their disposal. And it's like, well, do you know what? If speculate to accumulate. I mean, here, this is like Switzerland. I like to think,
isn't it? Yes.
I like to think
Yes.
Paul is like Switzerland.
It
We
is.
have this really lovely neutral ground here,
Where everybody comes.
where we have had some of the most amazing people come and talk. We talk about things. We don't sit here, and this is going to tie in very nicely with a comment on there. We don't sit here and go, oh, you know, I'm going to make a name up. You know what? I'm going to make a name up, and guess what? It will be a bloody medium, won't it? Fred Blogs.
Mhm.
Fred Blogs. You see what he's doing? Who the bloody hell does he think he is? Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, I've heard stuff. You know, and I just look at people aghast when... But do you know what? With the conversations we've had here, we don't... And people... I don't know whether to say this. No, say it, because you're not saying it aggressively. We are allowed to say, do you know what? That... Tim's on tonight. Watch Tim work. Do you know what? Best improvement in my philosophy, because I watched him work. Something he did. And I went, do you know what? That makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because this is how we get better. We sit with our peers. We improve.
That's
and I said,
exactly
seriously, and thank you again, Tim. It's just something. We were watching it up here after the service, and I went, oh my God, I see what you're doing there. That is so clever. That is, and I've incorporated it into my philosophy, and it really works. It's just wow. But as I say, this ties in with an from Tim. And sadly, I think the greatest criticism of the word medium we have is forced upon them is from their fellow mediums.
Yes.
I think maybe it's because we're in an industry that is based on sensitivity. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, Tim, you're quite right. I've seen, you know, we will have coming togethers and drifting apart.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be acrimonious. I find sometimes when things get acrimonious is because things just haven't happened earlier and just gone, well, yeah, we're having a great time.
Yes,
All
we
right?
are. Yeah, definitely.
Tomorrow night you're off. Monday you're off.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
And it's a natural end.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
We'll be back though.
Well, we are. We will. We will.
Don't I hope. But
Oops.
yeah. But you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see it sometimes that
Yeah.
people are together too long. And it becomes awkward. And then the awkwardness then starts to come out as aggression or whatever. And then things fly. But yeah, you're quite right, Tim. We do have within our movement people who say things which are totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
They really, I have thoughts about people, and I know I'm outspoken, but somebody said to me today, have I upset you? And I said, you would know if you'd upset me. And I'm not joking. You would know. And I don't mean
straight.
Yeah, I don't mean I would blow at you. I would just say, excuse me, what you're saying is offensive. And as I said about, you know, people criticize, excuse me, I'm not asking your opinion, and you have no understanding of my life and how I live and how I operate, and it's nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And if you take offence at that, that's fine, because you're the one taking offence. I'm just putting it out there and just saying, back off, buddy, or I'll headbutt you. Or something like that, Mrs. Tim, do you speak about people who have thoughts of stepping away from mediumship? We have to remember that there was a point when the Fox sisters stepped away from their mediumship because of all the public pressure that was put upon them. Thank God they stepped back into the and the public eye. Do you know what? Thank you again, Tim. I've been trying to find a physical medium to come to Paul to do an invited evening, not a public circus, an invited evening. And I have had not a lot of luck, to be quite honest. And we are all aware, and we are not berating or naming and shaming here tonight, people. But there are people out there who have had certain things brought out and said about them or displayed on video, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, you know what? It's a shame, because these people obviously are physical mediums.
Mm.
They must have had that in the beginning. They
Yes.
must have been present. It must have been demonstrable. It must have been tangible.
Yes.
Public pressure, not helped by sometimes the medium, of continually demming and continually coming up with the goods, has brought on this where other means are used. But I've said to people, actually, you're part of the issue of this. You know, if you booked a ticket, and I think the going rate is about 80 quid for a seance with one that I've come across. And when you've got 50 people in there at 80 quid, I've yet to see the medium turn around and say, do you know what, folks? Apologies. I know you've all travelled a long way, and I'm sincerely sorry, but it ain't going to happen tomorrow. It's not there. Here's your money back. Or do I turn the lights on, turn the lights off, turn the lights back on, turn the lights off, so I ruin your night vision and then start squirting you with a water pistol? You know, it's just... It's a shame, but it is public pressure. And we are sensitive. And again, with this public pressure, I've been saying to mediums about, you know, when you get a phone call and a booking for somewhere, and sort of just go, yes. And we do it.
We do.
All of us.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. Oh, it's the anniversary. Oh, sorry, Dove, I forgot that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do it. Just say, thank you very much. Very kind of you. Let me get back to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because actually, let me shift my energy into my thinking about me living my life.
Yeah, true.
There are 50 Saturdays or 50 Sundays in a year. How many of them are we going to give up for spiritualism, but not live the life that we are here to live? Because we are here to live a life.
That's right, and that's very important, because otherwise you get burnout. I've seen
Oh,
so many
definitely
people who
you
are on
do.
the verge of burnout.
Yes. Yeah. They get poorly. They get, you know, and sometimes I've started looking at my diary in a different way now, because I'll say, I look at the day and think I can do it, but then I've got to look either side of it to see what's going on. I mean, it's different now because I've just got myself we've just bought a second car. But before, my partner and I shared a car. So I have to make sure that it fits in with his work as well as mine. So it can be difficult sometimes.
We've got some bloke called Bruno.
Hello,
watching.
Bruno.
Hello, Bruno.
Hola.
Oh, bless him.
Is it Frank?
No, it's not Frank. It's
Hello, Bruno.
lovely Bruno.
Oh, bless him.
Jenny Hendon. Good evening. And she's saying, hello, I'm in Lancashire. I would be interested in your thoughts on the matter I feel strongly about. I think many people go to church. Any church should be able to mix with kindred spirit to discuss and share their experiences. So some of our churches have stopped the cup of tea and chat afterwards and can't wait for us to go, which I feel is such a vital part. So I presume that is so what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that maybe that's come about
Because of COVID.
because of COVID.
Yeah.
Because that was stopped because you couldn't make tea, or they just sort of like, I mean, I did a few services during COVID, or in the interim when we were still wearing masks, and it was very limited, and it wasn't easy because it was a little bit stiff and starchy. People were a little bit wary, and the whole thing of going to a church. When I first went to a church, I loved the welcome. I loved to be part of the service, listen to the service, engage in the service. But also, it's nice to talk to people.
The friendships,
the cup of tea. Especially if you're new or you're on your own. You might not have seen anyone all week. And you go into that church because it's part of the community. And I think that is very important to stop and have a cup of tea. But, sometimes, especially if the halls are rented, maybe they've got a time where they've got to be out, otherwise they get charged. So they've got to factor that in. But if it's their own building, then I think it's great to stay for a cup of tea. And then that's where people, if they're new, can ask questions. Some mediums go a whisked away into the committee room for their cup of tea. I like to talk to people. If people want to come up and talk to me, ask me questions, then I'm quite happy to do that. So I think it is important. Personally.
Well, I know, picking up on something you said there, when I very first went to West Wickham, which is where we met, I went in there and I was on my last uppers, if you like. I didn't want to be in this world. I had no friends. I was very miserable and unhappy. In I walked to the Spiritualist church and I went
having a weekend in Poole.
Oh, well, I walked in, I didn't know anybody, and I went home and I had so many friends. I felt as if I'd come home. I felt I'd walked into a situation that felt like a big hug. It was just beautiful, and everybody came up to me and talked to me, and I thought, oh my goodness, I found something. I found it, and it really lifted my spirit, and I kept going back because it was the one thing that kept me going. So, and I think that's sad that they don't do that anymore.
You get tea in Poole, by the way. They do nice tea and there's a lovely welcome. So
no, we don't.
You should do. Do you not?
No.
Oh.
Because I'm going to overhaul your fireworks now. I'm afraid.
Oh.
We stopped doing tea and coffee. Several reasons. Number one, it went up by 5p. Oh my God, the reaction. This is pre-COVID. This is pre-COVID.
Okay.
I would have had more luck if I'd gone out and said, could I shoot your dog? They were absolutely rabid about it. Number two, when you are, if it is your own building, you've a very good point there, because if you're renting the place, you are charged by the hour.
That's right. That's right.
And if you pay, the going rate now is like 45, 50 quid an hour.
Yeah, no.
You've got to have that in the collection, plus the medium's fee.
Yeah.
Number two, if it is your own place, the necessary laws that you've got to abide by, your health and hygiene, people serving things need hygiene certificates, you need recording of the fridge temperatures, you need your safety checks, you need your boiler, you need your training, you need your risk assessment, you need all this, you need all that, which is very, very heavy on volunteers.
Yeah.
You then have to get a volunteer to organise the rota for all the volunteers.
Yeah.
And what happens today, and with the best will in the world, volunteers, none of the churches could run without them. But what happens today when you've got no volunteers in, you then have this riot because I'm not going to get my cup of tea. Number three, and this is probably going to lose me about half of my friends list, but I'm really not going to apologise for it. I have seen this time and time again in churches where cliques are formed you know what, you get people coming into your church, they're in there for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. When they deign to come in, they'll sit there and have their subsidised or free cup of tea and just sit there bitching about people, passing their verdict. Oh, well, I don't think the medium was very good today. Oh, no, I didn't like the way they performed and all that. All this energy is sitting in your church. One thing, when you both walked into Poole yesterday, what did you both say?
Absolutely, I love
big hug.
Yeah, because I really manage the energies. We do teas and coffees, but we decide when we're going to do it.
Right.
We don't give it week in, week out, and it's your divine right to have it there every time.
So you do a coffee morning, like an organised coffee morning?
When we do our spiritual cafe nights, when we do our family gatherings, when we do our social event, we had a barbecue 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
For people in the church.
Yeah.
Which is fundraiser.
Which is nice. Yeah.
We do events which are catered for the workshops today.
Yeah.
You've seen
Lovely.
the level of catering on that.
Yeah.
But as a week in, week out duty, no, everything has gone up. I'm sorry, people quibble about, there's a church recently I went to, and they put theirs up 5p. And she went, it's 35p for a coffee. I said, here's 35p, love. Go down the road and get me a coffee, please.
You wouldn't get it.
I'd like to see you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not my understanding, but probably one of the biggest things, where are you, lovely lady? Oh, gosh, busy. Jenny, probably one of the biggest things is having that continuity of dedicated volunteers. And since COVID, churches have lost them.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people say, well, I've had people come up and say, I'll help with something. And with all the best will in the world, that may not be the task for them. They may be able to do something else brilliantly, but they may not be able to do that. So, yeah, the teas and coffee, as I said, we do it here, but it is part of the event, not a standby all the time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So,
but then I suppose if you think about it, things have changed over the years. I mean, I'm talking 45 years ago. And they didn't have all these
very
rules
much
and
of the
regs,
time.
did they?
Yeah, very much of the time.
In West Wickham, we used to have somebody that used to go. Lily Reed was in charge of the tea, wasn't she?
Right.
And you weren't allowed in the kitchen because that was her domain, and she used to go in there, and she wouldn't let anybody in. But I do understand about people would gather and start moaning and groaning sometimes, so I do understand that. And when Lily didn't go to the church so much when she was poorly, they used to have a tea rota, and sometimes the committee used to do it, or people used to volunteer. And I know some churches in London Spiritual Mission, they do it. Lots of churches do it, but I've never thought of it from that perspective before. So it's an interesting point.
It's not taken away, but it is actually measured and catered for, and it is there.
Yeah,
we do have these occasions, but not week in, week out.
Yeah,
all the time. Because, as I say, one of the biggest things is volunteer. I'm fortunate. I've got a beautiful church, and I've got so many different skill bases in the church. It's amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah.
But a lot of churches haven't got that. They've got smaller attendances, and always these jobs end up falling on the shoulders of one or two people.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
And then, they actually then, similar to mediums, start coming under criticism for things, and it's just like, you know what? Yes, fully understand what you're saying there, Jenny. From my point of view, my opinion, I'd said to somebody about a little while back, and they brought this subject up, and I went, you know what? That's a really good idea that we do teas and coffees after the service. I will approach somebody like Costa or Starbucks or something, and they can put a franchise unit in the kitchen and run it under their banner. And they went, well, that'd be a £5 for a cup. I went, and you said you wanted a coffee, not a freebie. Yeah, there's an Orthodox church actually on Piccadilly in London, and they've turned the vestry into a Starbucks. And I thought, that's really good.
Is that St James's?
That's one.
They used to have the markets there years ago. Yeah. But they put a Starbucks in there. Wow. I used to go, but they used to sell, I'll tell you what they also used to do. They used to sell the charity Christmas cards every year. And I used to go there and buy
Well, they have
Christmas
half
cards.
the church, the pews are assigned for people sleeping rough, can go in there and sleep in safety.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
wonderful.
love it. St James in
Piccadilly. It's a lovely
Piccadilly in
church.
London.
So Lola's made a comment on there. Are you home yet, Lola?
Yeah, I know, I was getting there. You stop jumping the gun.
Sorry, control freak.
Lovely. Oh, control freak. Control freak. Oh,
No, I
that's
talking
fun.
about me.
No, I said it first.
I'm sandwiched between the two of you.
Yeah, you're the peacekeeper. Lola, Jack, thank you so much for everything you brought to us in Paul and me personally. Thank you so much. I really hope you're back home safe. You left here at about 12 o'clock yesterday. I mean, that's commitment, isn't it, from a medium?
It is.
So, Jenny, these are vital points, but not the reason here. Okay. Sorry, you don't know what was happening, Paul. I feel it is so important as much as the mediumship. Jenny, do you know what? Community within our churches is vital.
Yes, very much so.
Community is vital. And as I said, the church will provide these opportunities to bring people together. It is a regular events within each month. There are these opportunities.
Yeah.
People can, the way the church is set out today.
Yeah.
Very similar to a spiritual cafe night.
Oh, no.
I think that's lovely.
So
you do
Yeah.
such a great job here, though.
You
really
do.
do.
You do.
And people talk about you outside of the church. People talk about you nice things.
Oh, I was going to say that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the people that have been here have just say nice things.
But again, this is down to the volunteers I've got.
Mm.
And I've got so many, as I said, I've got so many people that you can call upon to do things. It's just
I think
amazing.
you underestimate yourself as well, because you're a huge part of this
No,
church.
because I'm very shy, all right, bashful, and I now begin to feel embarrassed, and I now want to run away and go sit in the garden and eat worms.
I think the church is lucky to have you.
Yeah, here, I agree with that.
Right, Tim Albert. I remember a student saying to me once, you spend so much time with the Spirit, you're forgetting how to live. And it was so true. It has to be a balance.
Yes.
Indeed, the richness within our mediumship comes through the experiences we have in our daily life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Going back
Absolutely.
to,
Yeah.
instead of just saying yes.
Yeah.
Mark, who's in the room tonight, he said something on one of the Lyceums. When he got to 30, he was sat there and he thought, what did I do with my 20s?
Mm.
Yeah.
And he had worked in the churches and centres
Yeah.
all the way through his
Yeah.
20s.
Well, I was saying to you that I've got to a point now where people just expect me to be there at their beck and call. And I actually don't answer my phone. And then I monitor my phone calls because, you get the phone call, this has happened to me and this is real. 4:00 in the morning, people ringing me, expecting me to be able to give them a reading. You're a medium. You should be there. I need your help. Some medium you are not if you don't do this for me. So I've just decided that if I switch off my phone, I can monitor who I need to get back to.
And we do it when I do it with my messages. I will look at the leading line of each message. Some messages I need to be in a different frame of mind, different energy.
Yeah.
To be able to respond to that properly.
Yeah.
Some messages are okay, yeah, that's fine. It's B. Ooh, need to think about that. Hang on, let me check other things. Yesterday, a son lost his mum. I had to delay that for about an hour and a half because I was tied up doing something else, and I had to come out of that something else energy to be able to be in the right energy. To talk to a son who's just lost his mum.
Definitely.
So we need to pace ourselves.
And we've got a physical life. We have to be able to, go to Tesco's and do our shopping and go and visit our grandchildren and go to the hairdressers without being disturbed. We've got to shut up. Yes, I need to go to the hairdressers. But we do have a physical life.
Yeah.
And we need to remember that.
We do.
Tony Goswell, you need to be open-minded and then we can learn from each other. That's the fun with spiritualism. We just expect each other's different thoughts. We just accept each other's
Right.
Yeah, going back about mediums not being kind, not playing nicely. That is it, Tony. We're all different. That's part of the uniqueness.
Yes.
Of our movement. We all resonate and do things totally different, and that's to be celebrated, not to be
Of course it is.
vilified. That's a word.
Good word, yeah.
Ooh, yeah, we like vilified. Bill Rich. Who let Bill Rich in the room?
Hello, Bill.
I had doorman on to stop him coming in.
Oh,
for goodness
Bill.
sake. If we can have him.
Villiers Road?
No. Essex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Bill, this is Val.
Hello, Bill. I'm from Essex too, originally.
Yeah.
Can we get back to the program?
Sorry. It's her fault.
Long weekend. Lola, come back. Lola. Bill, physical mediumship in the area is such a beautiful thing to see. I've witnessed true mediumship in this area. Yeah. But it's one area that is so scrutinised by bad publicity and the pressure to perform. Agree with you totally, Bill. I sat in a few seances and just thought, wow, that is. But again, it boils back down to the experience.
Yes.
I didn't sit there going, oh, look, there's a trumpet.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's a ball rolling across the floor.
Mm.
You know, you were just in this energy, and you were just like, God,
Yeah.
this is awesome.
I feel the same. I sat in one recently, and it was just amazing.
Well, I sat a couple of years ago, I sat in a physical circle or a physical demonstration in Australia, and I've never been so angry in my life. There were two British people who'd come over there. They made an absolute killing. They really did. And it was such a fun. This guy supposedly got out of the cabinet or whatever it was. He stepped on my foot. And I'm thinking, you know, I felt that was a physical foot. And it was just, not good.
We had the Spiritists. We do a lot of work with them. Now, they're their way of working with what we know as evidential mediumship is totally different to ours. Totally different. It is not done on a public platform.
No.
It is not part of a service. It is an invited event. Now, they do a lot of rescue work, and they always start off the session with healing. Now, whoever the medium is, he is also the head healer as well. And each person having healing has two people making passes over them, not at them. It's not Russell Brand, but over them, making passes and works on the healing. Then, when it gets into what we would deem as evidential mediumship, it's not. I can't say it's not evidential because it was. But it's not evidence in the way that we know that, you know, 6'2", eyes are blue. Oh my God, that's my dad. It's not like that. It really is an experience because this is my experience of it. And I'm level-headed. I keep my feet on the floor. If somebody's pulling the wool over my eyes, I will know it. If somebody is doing the real deal, I would like to say that I will know it. In the healing, I had an operation here many years ago, which still causes me upsets. Somebody went like that, 4 fingers into my belly. And I opened my eyes, and there was no hand there, but the 4 fingers were still in my belly. And since then, that condition has really calmed down.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, that's fascinating. When it got to the mediumship part, they concentrate on rescue work. Now they allow spirits to come through and tell their story, but they are not known to the sitters. So I'm sat there thinking, I don't know about this. That was real. That was physical. That I felt. But you know, I used to be a barra boy, and I turned to alcohol, and I've stayed. You know, how do you get the evidence base? And so I'm just sat there thinking, I'm not sure about this at all. The third one that came through, you know what? The atmosphere in the room changed.
Right.
It was like trying to breathe in tar. It was thick, miasmic. I felt physically sick. I'm like, I don't like this in the slightest. What's going on? The story that was coming out, it was a young guy who was Brazilian, was involved in gangs, was involved in drugs, had taken others' lives and all that. And the medium, they're trying to hand them over to guides to help them start to progress. And I thought, wow, I'm getting really confused here now, because this is turning my understanding of mediumship on its head a bit. At the end, the guy is talking in trance. Again, you could feel that presence, and through an interpreter. And halfway through, and they said, we do apologise to Lawrence. We didn't realise that whatever is Grigor or whatever it was, would have that much of an effect on him. Please accept our sincerest apologies, but don't worry, there is no trace of him left about you.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought, This is intriguing me.
Yeah.
This is really intriguing me. Anyway, meanwhile, Barry Oates. Good evening, Barry. How are you, sir?
Hello, Barry.
Hi, Barry.
You so-called teachers of mediumship should be teaching. It's a bit harsh. Teachers of mediumship should be teaching prospective mediums self-discipline. It's not only non-mediums that need to pursue their own spiritual development. It's essential that the inner journey continues for all. Yeah, I agree. And this is similar to healing. I teach in healing. Heal yourself.
But we never stop learning, and that's the important. We can't stop learning.
Yeah. And with people coming for healing, I don't want them addicted. You know, I've got my back still playing me up. I go and see the healer again. No. Find out what is the root cause of that. Work with your own healing.
Yeah.
Susanna Vigda from the Faroe Isles.
Oh, wow.
How are you, my darling? And Patrick Monaghan from the Emerald Isles.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you for that comment, Barry. Thank you, sir.
Well, Barry's been involved in the movement for a long time. So.
He has.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it's 8:15.
Oh,
It's outrageous.
Wow.
it is.
It's past our Betty by Bungalows.
Well, I was up to see the sunrise this morning, so I think, yes, I'm ready for my bed.
Okay. You elected to get up and watch the sunrise this morning, and now you're tired.
Yeah, I am.
Slightly different energy.
I wanted to go and see the sunrise this morning, and it was beautiful.
Excellent. But yeah, I'm sorry, I keep getting drawn back to Barry's comments there. Essential that the inner journey continues for all. Do you know what? Yeah, and this to me is what spiritualism is about.
It is.
It's
about your journey.
Yeah, I say to people, once you've had that evidence, keep coming back for more and more. Start working with it, start researching, start reading, start learning, start understanding.
Yeah, but a lot of people
start listening.
They want you to tell them how to live their lives. They want to come for a reading every week, every fortnight, every month. They won't do it for themselves.
What does the spirit world say about this? What does the spirit world say? Is he the right man for me?
Oh, God.
Yeah, but it's about taking personal responsibility for your life and what you do and how you live it, and not saying, oh, that medium told me or the spirit world told me. Years ago, there was a lady that used to be in our church, and she originally came from Scotland, and she came to England. She was happy in England. She was part of the church. And then all of a sudden, one day, she announced that she was going back to Scotland. And we said, why are you going back to Scotland? And she said, Spirit told me to. So I said, well, why do you want to go back? And she said, well, I'm not sure, but if Spirit told me I've got to go back, then I'm going back. Because she had it in a reading. And then...
All right, well, Spirit are telling me you don't want any fees this week.
and we heard later that when she went back to Scotland, it wasn't as she thought, and she wasn't very happy.
Anyway, thank you everybody for joining in. Absolutely lovely night.
Yeah,
thank you, lovely ladies.
Thank you for having us. It's been
We're all
lovely.
going to sit here being all nice and everything now, and the minute the screen's off, out comes the wine, on go the party hats. Oh, hold on. Mark, have a fab rest of your weekend. Sorry you couldn't get down to see it. And I made macaroni cheese, just in case, Mr. Stone.
You missed it, Mark.
Yeah.
You missed macaroni cheese.
We ate macaroni cheese. Blah, blah. Tim, as a spiritualist, we accept the reality of the spirit world, and we must accept that we are spirit and calming, and that the spirit we are needs to be fed and nurtured and given every opportunity to evolve.
Yeah.
Exactly, Tim. Yeah, it's all about evolvement. Continual, every day, new life, new chance, new opportunities.
Yes.
So, thank you, everybody. Absolute joy. Next week we have...
Not me.
No, I told you the name. We have somebody lovely. We have a gentleman talking to us from Pennsylvania.
Oh,
And he will be talking to us on the topic of healing. And he is an absolutely lovely gentleman. And I've been on the go all day since about 7 o'clock this morning, and my brain is now fried and my computer won't load up. And I'm ashamed to say I've forgotten the name. Dennis. We have Dennis. Oh my God, nothing's working here. This is fun. Dennis Battersby.
not Dennis the Menace.
No,
Dennis the Menace, yes.
no, please don't do that. Dennis Battersby. I do apologise if you're watching tonight or later on, Dennis. I'm having a total meltdown moment there. So we've got Dennis Battersby talking to us from Pennsylvania next Saturday night about healing. He is a minister at the Journey Within organisation in America, and he also runs 2 schools of mediumship within America. So we're looking forward to seeing and meeting up with Dennis next week.
Lovely.
So in the meantime, have a great night, folks. Remember, you can catch up these 2 tomorrow morning if you watch our streamed service from Paul at 11 o'clock. Karen and Val will be taking that tomorrow. And if you're close by in the evening, there is an evening demonstration of mediumship, also by Karen and Val. But in the meantime, thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you soon.
Bye.